Season 16 is the first season to introduce new perks into Overwatch 2. However, a large proportion of these have been, well, to say the least, underwhelming. I'm clown.er, and I'm particularly perked up about this. I decided that I wanted to have my own take on this, and so I made 5 perks for characters in Overwatch 2, replacing already existing ones, and 1 perk rework for a damage character. I'ma do this in role order, starting with the tank role. A new minor perk for D.Va, Eject Expulsion, replacing Ejection Suit. Eject grants a large burst of knockback when your mech is destroyed. The already existing minor perks for D.Va seem to be focused on the baby D.Va, and so I wanted to sort of keep that theme rolling here. However, my perk idea doesn't blow ass. This perk is going to grant a D.Va a much higher chance of surviving once she is demeched. It's going to really knuckle down on the people that like to camp around a D.Va mech as it's demeching. I see you. I know the kind of player you are. Moving over to the damage role now, where we're going to start with a reworked perk for Bastion. His minor perk Armored Artillery is getting a rework here. Instead of granting overhealth, Configuration Artillery grants Bastion a slab of immortality health, which prevents him from dying. Holy. My thoughts behind this is that Bastion's ultimate currently is useless. The extra health is nice, but doesn't grant it more utility in the grand scheme of things. With my rework, Bastion will be able to contest objectives freely throughout the duration of his Configuration Artillery. A useful tool for contesting objectives freely in overtime, let's say, and also as a slab of survivability for him to have when he uses his terrible, terrible ultimate. Torbjorn is getting a new major perk, Turret Sentience, replacing Anchor Bolts. I know. I was crying that I had to replace Sticky Turret, I know. But I replaced it with something even better. Torbjorn's turret can now contest objectives. That sounds underwhelming at first, but let that sink in. Imagine you've capped first point King's Row, okay? You want to snowball the enemy team when they are respawning because some of them spawn stupidly in the forward spawn. You can keep your turret on the payload to push it freely whilst you push up as a 5. A complete team pushing up. That is insane. This would be an incredibly useful tool in a lot of niche circumstances. However, I reckon that it's worthy of it being a major perk, enough so that it replaces the Anchor Bolts perk. The perk icon that I drew up is very evidently different. It's a mixture of the practice bot and the turret. You guys, let me know. Do you reckon with this perk it would be too OP and you'd need to change the hitbox to match this icon? Or it's fine as it is? Let me know. Venture is the second damage hero getting a perk rework, another major here, Enhanced Motor, which is replacing the clown.er excavator. Clobber lasts for as long as you hold down quick melee. That's pretty interesting. An infinitely lasting melee is not one that we have. The closest we have to it is something like Reinhardt's, where obviously you hold it down and it continues to swing. But this would be a constant surge of damage, which is really going to help between shots for Venture. I had to make this one a major perk, replacing the clown.er excavator, obviously, because otherwise it would be paired with the Covered in Dirt perk, making it ridiculously unstoppable. And now, finally, to the support role, where I've got 2 characters here getting more perks. Iari is the first character on this list getting a major perk, Solar Piercing, replacing Solar Power. Solar Rifle Secondary Fire now pierces through multiple allies. This is very obviously inspired by the Zarya Piercing Beam perk, which has been dominating the lower brackets of competitive play because of just how fun it is and how unstoppable it is if you don't know how to counter it. This perk would single-handedly give Iari a very different playstyle in regards to her becoming a more main healer role, the primary healer in a composition. She could be paired with something like a Lucio. I decided to replace the solar power perk as I figured I'd replace the already existing healing buff perk with an even better one. And finally, Lifeweaver is the second support here, getting a new minor perk. Benevolent Dash, replacing Life Cycle, No More Seed, RIP. Rejuvenating Dash grants a pulse of area healing to surrounding allies, but its cooldown is increased by 2 seconds. This is the only perk on this list that is a buff along with a nerf. The rest of them are just flat buffs. The reason why I decided to do this is because, one, it's in line with what Overwatch 2 does, where they do a mixture of buff perks and bigger buff but also nerf perks. And the second reason is because I wanted this perk to give the Rejuvenating Dash a different playstyle, a different utility than it already has. As of the current state of the game, Rejuvenating Dash is used as a selfish movement ability for Lifeweaver. Benevolent Dash changes that by making it 2 seconds longer, so it's not his primary movement anymore, you're going to have to be more wary. However, the pulse of healing is exactly the same as a Tree of Life pulse. A big burst of healing around him, healing up all his allies, but the cooldown is longer for him. Very similar to Baptiste's Regenerative Burst when it first came out. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed this, a lot more than I thought, so even if this doesn't do well, I'm probably going to end up making a part 2, because I've already got ideas for more perks. So guys, I'll see you for that, or I'll see you for the next video, whatever it may be.